Hey there, Goodlife. I'm so excited for this Sunday for our annual Thanksgiving and AGM. We're going to be gathering here and also online. It's just going to be a great day, an opportunity to give thanks for what God has done and what He's going to do. We've also got some pretty big announcements. We've got some new roles and team members we want to introduce. We're going to put forward some nominations for new executive members as part of the leadership team here at Goodlife. And also our new lead pastor is going to be put forward as a nomination as well. Lots happening, and I can't wait to be a part of it with you guys. Well, good morning, Goodlife Online Church family. It is so good to be with you, and thank you for joining us on this Thanksgiving Sunday. So what is Thanksgiving Sunday? It's a bit of a tradition here at Goodlife where we stop and pause on a Sunday in November and give thanks to God for all He has done and all He's going to do. I don't know about you, but coming with this spirit of Thanksgiving, it's good for my soul. So often in the hustle, you just forget to be thankful. And even the small things, even the big things that take place, we just forget to give thanks to God. So this morning, we're going to give thanks to God for what He has done and come with expectant hearts and minds around what He's going to do in the days to come here in our Goodlife community. We're going to be crossing live today to our physical gathering here at Goodlife, and we're really looking forward to sharing with you in everything we do today. Just a couple of notices, things that are going on in our Goodlife community here. Christmas lunch boxes. It's not too late to be able to sponsor a lunchbox. For $20, you provide lunch for a family in need. What an amazing privilege it is to be able to support those in our community who need it most. Also, this Sunday evening, there is no gathering here at Goodlife. We're having our Thanksgiving service, as you know, but there will be no evening service later on today. And here's a save the date. It's Sunday, the 19th of December is going to be our carol service here at Goodlife in person. So please come along and be a part of that. What a great time of the year it is. And one other one that you just need to be aware of is Boxing Day is a Sunday. And this year, because it's the day after Christmas and we're having our gathering on a Saturday for Christmas Day service, we won't be having our Sunday gatherings here at Goodlife on Boxing Day. Just a couple of dates for you to remember.
You know, I love a glass of wine, and many people do. But there's a process that we often overlook looking at a glass of wine, because I remember when I had a 1930s fortified wine many years ago, and the story in that bottle kind of spoke to me more than how great it tasted. It was this understanding that people had invested their passion and time into creating something that I was enjoying, you know, decades later. And I was looking at this typewriter written label, and I was wondering who the person was that put this amazing product into this bottle. You know, we're so quick to pour a glass of wine and enjoy it with friends, and so we should, but but with good wine at least, there's a process that we often take for granted. And I think as a community, we've all inherited the work of other people, and other people have invested into our community, and we're all benefiting from it now. And I think we often take that for granted as well. Yeah, Jodie and I have been to the Barossa Valley a number of times. the Shiraz for me is beautiful coming out of Barossa, and through friendships down there we've been able to really get close and see the vineyards and walk through the vineyards and be taken through the actual process of taking the transformation of a grape into this great product. And when you walk through the vineyards, especially in winter, it's like carnage. There's just these dead branches that have been just cut from the vine, and it's quite overwhelming because you think, oh, what a waste, but then you look and you see that how the vines have been trimmed back so purposefully, and there's a branch growing this way and a branch growing this way, and they've been cut back to allow the fruit to grow. And there's a little spur that I always love because it's the branch for the following year. So there's preparation for not just what's the season that they're in, but the one to come. One of my favourite winemakers in the Barossa was telling me once that he had a night where it was unseasonably frosty later in the season, and this cold snap had hit, and a whole section of his vineyard had been destroyed. It was like up to $250,000 worth of fruit lost in a matter of hours. But the interesting part was he then told me that it was in that region, that area that had been lost, that the best fruit came from in the following years. And he was saying he's a 4th or 5th generation grower, and he still doesn't fully understand the process, and he just has to kind of serve it and be a part of it. I think, again, with our community at the moment, in this day and age, it feels like we've been heavily pruned. It feels like we've been stripped back, and many of us may feel like there's a frost even that something's died out. But I think we just also have to trust the process of someone who knows more than we do, that we bring our knowledge and understanding, but it's quite often beyond us, and we still have to believe that the best fruit is going to come from that, and we still have to prepare, cultivate and care for what we have in our hands. So there's a whole product that is the grape. It's complete in its growing. It's done. But then we take that from there and we crush it, you ferment it, it's cultivated, it's aged. There's a transformation that takes place until it becomes this whole new product. And Jesus used wine so often as an example because we're all in this process of transformation, like the grape to become wine. We're all being transformed to be the likeness of Him. And to the night that He was betrayed, He's having dinner with His friends, and they're having a glass of wine, and He takes that wine and He says, drink this and remember me, because that point with Him, having a drink of wine with Him and remembering Him, He's the example of the transformation being complete. My favourite blend of wine is the Shiraz. The thing I love about the Shiraz is that even in the Barossa Valley, where most vineyards make their own Shiraz, they all taste different. And if you expand that even more, if you were to, the Syrah overseas is a Shiraz, and if you put a Shiraz grape in different soil, in different weather, different climates, different people that are responsible for the transformation of that, it's going to taste different, and it should. It's what we love about wine. And I think the church is very similar, and it should be, that we're all grafted into Christ. We're one church. But when that church is planted in different soil, in different climates, in different cultures, and the hands that are a part of that community, it should be different. And I think if I was to say anything to our community at the moment is, let's not be afraid of our own individual flavour, and it should look different, it should taste different, it should be different, because it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing that we're a part of, and it's also something that we are creating for maybe people to come. We're creating this beautiful thing for the benefit of people who will enjoy it, that we may never know, and it could be decades ahead of us. And I think that's where my heart is. That I liken the two things. We're not creating something for us to see. We're creating something that potentially others will benefit from for years to come.
We're going to go into a time of worship and reflection now. So I invite you to just come in that spirit of thanksgiving as we worship together. And also we're going to hear some of the reflections. We've been talking about Psalm 100 now for a little while, that Thanksgiving Psalm. And we're going to show you some of our community's work on that and their interpretations of Psalm 100. After our time of worship and reflection, we're going to cross live to our Thanksgiving service, which is taking place in Goodlife. And so hang in and we'll cross you straight over as soon as we're ready.
Psalm 100, a psalm of thanksgiving. Shout with joy to the Lord, all the earth. Worship the Lord with gladness. Come before him, singing with joy. Acknowledge that the Lord is good. He made us, and we are his. We are his people, the sheep of his pasture. Enter his gates with thanksgiving. Go into his courts with praise. Give thanks to him and praise his name. For the Lord is good. His unfailing love continues forever, and his faithfulness continues to each generation.
Sing your joy, all you birds. Blaze your colours, trees and flowers. Roar your thanks, waves and wind. All creation, shout to God who created all things. For God is God and we are God's. We belong to him and he cares for us. His love never changes, never gives up, never fails. He keeps all his promises always. Thanks, God.
Lord, enable me to praise you, to shout with joy. Help me be glad and sing with joy despite the circumstances I'm in. For you made me, God, and you reclaimed me when I walked away from you. You want me to be your sheep, to obediently follow you. Remind me always to be thankful, for you are always good. Your unfailing love for me never ceases, and your faithfulness is ongoing to our children, our grandchildren, and for future generations. Thank you, God. Amen.
You took my sin to a cross, leave my shame into a grave. You gave your life to find the lost, in exchange and love, mercy and grace. You are holy, you are worthy of my own. this life I travel through be all about you, all about you. You are always good. Let this life I travel through be all about you. In the seasons, through the change, it's only your word that will remain. My assurance, my only gain is in Jesus, the greatest of names. You are holy, you are worthy of my You are holy, glorified forevermore. You alone You are always good. You are always good. Let this life I travel through be all about you. You are always good. Let this life I travel through be all about you.
Hey everyone, let God hear the joy that is bursting forth from your heart. Draw close to Him, the one and only God, and break forth in joyful song. He has given us life and never ceases to lead, care for and watch over us. We have so much for which to thank Him, so very much. So let's show it extravagantly. Truly our good God is ever loving and amazingly faithful.
My heart bursts with joy when I contemplate what God has done for me. My heart sings and I shout and sing with joy. To stop and consider deeply what God has done for me, His love for me, His daughter, is completely amazing. He is my shepherd. We are His sheep, adoring and following, obeying our shepherd. Come into His presence freely, boldly, with gratefulness and thankfulness. Oh God, You are always good. You are a good, good Father. Your loving kindness and grace and mercy and faithfulness goes on and on to each generation.
Join with the universe in its great noise of joy. Bring your worship of thankfulness and gladness to our Creator. Approach Him, come close with joyfulness in your voice. Declare out loud so that all can hear that He is Master, Ruler, and Sustainer of all things. For He is our Maker and we are His creation. He not only made us, but also welcomed all of us into His family. So as you enter His home, come thankfully for what He has done. As He greets you at His door, acknowledge all of His goodness to you. For our Creator is always and forever good. His love existed long before creation and will endure long after.
So your goodness will not end, you cannot fail. So I will not be overwhelmed, the cross before me. I'll leave the world behind, and though none go with me, Jesus, you'll be mine. Lord, I know only satisfied, and only you are my supply, and I will follow where you lead me, where your promises will meet me. I'm not turning back, no turning back. Mercies, every morning they are new, and by your strength, oh, any mountain can be moved in sweet surrender. Lord, I will choose, though none go with me, I will follow you. I know only you can satisfy, and only you are my supply, and I will follow where you lead me, where your promises will meet me. I'm not turning back, no turning back. I have decided to follow Jesus. I have decided I will follow you. I have decided to follow
You guys did awesome. Thank you. So good. I'm tired just watching them. Oh, so good. Well, we're going to transition now from worship and praise and thanksgiving into a bit more of our general meeting and report. So I just want to pray before we get into that. We're going to watch a bit of a video report of some of the things that have happened this year. Is that cool? Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you. God, our hearts are full of gratitude for who you are. God, how you bring us around your table, how you invite us in, and how there's always room for more. God, we thank you that today we can celebrate who you are, we can celebrate what you've done, and we can cast an eye forward into the future, believing that you're going to continue to be faithful and steadfast in all of your ways. And so, God, we honor you and we glorify you today, and thank you for who you are. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Let's go ahead and watch.
All right, my friend. Good? All right. And can I get a clap, please? 3, 2.
Welcome to the Goodlife 2021 AGM report.
Goodlife Swim School is more than just teaching and coaching children to learn to swim. Our swim team oversees all the aquatic areas of the centre, from teaching and coaching right through to cleaning the pool decks and lifeguarding the outdoor pools, including the Goodlife Pool Holiday Inflatables. In a world ruled by uncertainty of COVID border closures and lockdowns, the swim school and pools has provided a safe space for many people to form vital connections and relationships. During this time, we have been a lifeline for many families, from those experiencing major health crises through to providing a safe space for people to take 30 minutes for their mental health. Over the next year, as Queensland slowly reopens to the world, the Goodlife Swim team is ready to provide support and continually adapt to the needs of our community.
On any given day, the gym team are here in front of 150 to 200 people, in classes, on the gym floor, or a friendly wave passing members in the foyer. Our role is simple, really. We encourage people, inviting them to be better than yesterday and to believe that they can do the thing they thought they could never do. We help open new doors of possibility, teaching people how to move without pain or build the strength and confidence they need to step up to the bar and live out their dreams. We build bridges connecting friends that haven't met yet, and we get to listen when times get tough. Not as someone who has all the answers, but as someone who cares. Highlight from the past year has been seeing people come back to a place where they genuinely belong. Memberships, timetables and dumbbells aside, there's community here. A place where people aren't just known, but celebrated. And I also love that we're able to plant a new gym in the Solomon Islands. I think this will be a benefit for people for years to come. I think everyone's excited for next year. There's a lot of change this year for everyone, some of it good, some of it hard. But it feels like there's hope in the air, and I'm excited to see who will arrive next.
I oversee a few operational departments, but the closest contact I have is with the front counter team. My team of lovely ladies welcome everyone that walks into the centre. They process gym memberships, swim school payments, room hire bookings, and all the sports bookings. They also communicate all the community groups, church events, and on occasions they act as counsellors. I'm really grateful and proud of the way all the teams have kept their spirits high this year and the momentum that they've kept going during the ever-changing COVID rules. They have been adaptable, positive, and willing to change the processes at the last minute. Next year, we really look forward to more opportunities to connect and build stronger relationships.
Hi, this is Susie. I manage the cafe. I may be biased, but I think we have an incredible, dynamic cafe team who work tirelessly 6 days a week. We are responsible for greeting, serving, preparing and cooking food for our customers. I'm really encouraged by the daily interactions and conversations we and some of our volunteers who deliver coffee have with our customers, particularly those who have come searching for connection, and they often find it here in the cafe. There are many groups who stay and enjoy social time after their classes. They often say that they experience hope here, acceptance and genuine love. This place is like a family to them, not to mention great food and coffee, of course. It's a privilege to be part of something unique, and that's what Goodlife offers.
Hi, my name's Caleb. I'm the Facilities Manager at Goodlife. The Facilities team is responsible for the presentation, maintenance and safety of all of Goodlife's buildings, grounds, pools and associated assets, which includes our ICT, AV and security systems. We're a small team of 1 full-time and 3 part-time staff. However, we also manage an extensive number of external contractors and vendors that assist us in meeting our overall maintenance needs. Whilst we see our overall role as serving the broader community, we get to do that primarily by supporting each department in providing safe, functional facilities that in turn help them provide the best experience for their customers. In the year ahead, we look forward to increased certainty around the relaxation of COVID restrictions, as well as finding new and fun ways to engage our broader community.
The communication team covers all areas of internal and external communication. We have the privilege of telling and sharing the Goodlife story happening all around us as it unfolds. The last 12 months and more have brought challenges of a new kind, with communication in the digital space becoming just as vital as face-to-face. Our team has risen to the occasion, expanding to include a video production crew and navigating this ever-changing environment with creativity and innovation. The impact of Goodlife is reaching far beyond the 4 walls of this building, and that gets us so excited. I'm looking forward to this next season as we continue to grow, develop and dream up new ways of serving and connecting with our Goodlife community.
An ordinary week for us usually starts on a Wednesday night. We're always planning the week ahead or the months ahead, and on a Saturday afternoon we gather at Goodlife and we convert the stadium into a space where people can gather on a Sunday comfortably. There's such a diverse nature in the team, and whether it's sound, lighting, computer operating, there's just a lot to it. And on a Sunday we have the opportunity to serve our community through the morning gathering and through the evening gathering. Each and every one of us just love that opportunity to be with our community and to serve them and to sing together and just find that space that we all love. But it's also an amazing opportunity that we've had in the recent years to connect with our online community, and it's been an incredible space for us to invest into. And I think the highlight for me this year has been the creation of the Goodlife Collective. It was a real amazing thing to be a part of, to see such a diverse group of people come together, gifted so differently but all contributing to the same thing.
Each week, the Goodlife community gathers around a simple faith and the big story of God's faithfulness to us in Jesus. This has many expressions. From Sunday gatherings to weekly groups, seminars, classes, and Bible studies, people gather around the hope we have found in Jesus. The hope is best expressed in community. On Sunday, we gather for worship and prayer, discovering spiritual disciplines like meditating on the Psalms, and receiving communion together. Gathering around the Lord's table weekly has been a powerful and special time for those who have made it a part of their spiritual formation. Throughout the week, Bible studies, mission seminars, life groups, and book studies take place around the center and in homes across the coast. Different spaces for people to engage, participate, and grow in connection to God and to others. At the heart of all these connection points are our leaders and volunteers. Each week, people love and invest in our community by leading groups and volunteering across large and small gatherings. Welcome teams. They smile, greet, and help people find out the things they need to know on Sundays. Chair teams set up chairs and prep spaces for everyone to have a seat. Communion teams set up and serve and bless each person as they come to receive communion.
Life group leaders prep and plan times together for groups, getting ready for the lively discussion that takes place as a part of growing together in community. I'm so grateful for the teams and leaders that make up the Goodlife community. Without a doubt, one of the best expressions of community is our family gathering on a Sunday morning, where we sing together, we hear other people's stories, and we dig into the scriptures. There's always food and coffee and lots of conversation. As we turn our eyes to 2022, it's with a deep sense of gratitude. I'm excited to see us as a community continue to meet people right where they are at. Every point of connection here at Goodlife is an opportunity to love. From the coffee on a Sunday, to the marriage courses that develop our most important relationships, to the online spaces where people can connect with us for the first time. Next year is a gift waiting to be opened.
Hi, my name is Helen Hall and I am the head of the Children and Families Department at Goodlife. Our Kids and Families team oversee the creation, planning and delivery of our kids and families programs, and most importantly build relationship to help them see that they are unique, valued and loved and that they belong here. A highlight from 2021 is the 2x2 segment in the 10 a.m. gathering. Coming into the new year, I really wanted to remove the disconnect between kids upstairs and adults downstairs. I had the vision for 2x2 where the children would come down at the end of the gathering and share what they had been doing. But what has astounded me is what God has done with this. The kids have had such incredibly rich insights to share what has highlighted the beauty and wisdom of a child's faith and impacted many adults. The leaders have also done a great job in curating that space to flow with the worship. I have seen God connect his family and across the generations, and it has been beautiful. God is always doing something new in our kids, and I look forward to next year and to learning from them and seeing them learn and grow. We have some incredible families in our community and I'm grateful for them.
Our youth group meets every Sunday and Friday. We have the great pleasure walking alongside our young people and being their #1 fans. There is nothing like being a role model to our teenagers and sharing life with them. Our purpose is to bring hope and wonder into the lives of every teenager that we encounter here at Goodlife Community Centre. This year, we focused on hope, courage, resilience, and wonder. What God has done this year really exceeded our expectations, especially on camp. We got to share Jesus at a relational level. We had a leader give a testimony, which led into our leaders praying for over 20 teenagers that night. What a blessing it is to see the fruits that have been sown throughout the year. God is always good and is never late.
I'm fortunate to work with around 120 of the best volunteers to be found. Men and women that understand the DNA of Goodlife. That community is built around the opportunity for connection and care. This is seen in the outworking of the many groups that we have. Groups that connect over common interests like book club, chit chat and ukulele. Groups that support people in unique life seasons like Sunny Sisters, While We're Waiting and Mum Life. It's our educational groups like Good English. And through our practical care that is delivered through bread service, emergency meals, nursing home visitations and the growing demand for assistance from the Lifehouse. These are all tools in our hands for serving the community and meeting needs for individuals in a holistic way. With all the uncertainty and change that we've journeyed these last 12 months, I've been so encouraged to see the pursuit of connection, the building of bridges within Goodlife and beyond into our local community, providing a sense of belonging so that people know that they're not alone. My hope for 2021 is that we would continue to see new people find a place of connection and belonging within our community, with ripple effects going far beyond 100 Buderim Pines Drive. And also that those already calling Goodlife home would see their connections deepen, friendships grow, active engagement and contribution offered, innovation and invitation, and a real sense of ownership in what makes this, our community, so special.
Every day of the week, these doors open and provide a place of belonging and community for so many thousands of people. And I want to say a huge thank you to the team that make that possible. Whatever your role is here, it wouldn't happen without you guys. And to the incredible volunteers who serve as well, a huge thank you. On this Thanksgiving Day, I am so thankful for every single one of you, the gifts, the abilities that you bring to this place and the way you serve. Thank you so much. How good was that? It is such a good thing to stop and give thanks to God for all that He's done. And it's easy to lose sight of that in the hustle, in the busyness of all that we do. And so I love Thanksgiving. It's one of those holidays I reckon we should bring into Australia, you know, to be able to stop each year and just give thanks. Today I'm especially thankful, and I haven't had a chance to see him yet, but my firstborn Bailey, where is he? Oh, there he is. Happy birthday, mate. Love you. So why do we combine Thanksgiving and AGM this year? Why do we do a little bit differently? Because I feel that this year is a very significant year in the Goodlife journey. We all know where we've been walking, and it's 12 months ago now where we announced that Tim and Donna would be finishing up as lead pastors. And we embark on the journey of what the new thing is that God would have for us. Today we're also streaming with our online family, so they're connected in now and just jumped in online, which is awesome. So great to have you guys with us as well. But 12 months on, I think we're in a really good place. My heart is overflowing to see the stories of that. And I just want to give a couple of special thank yous. It's been a big year. And the Goodlife team have welcomed me in my capacity as leader here for these past 12 months, and it's just been an absolute joy to serve. I just really do want to thank, though, both Ryan, Jeff, and Kylie as the senior leadership team. Without those guys, it would have been a really tough year. And just, please give them a round of applause. And also to the heads of department, many of them who you saw share in that video, those guys make this place happen every single day. They have huge teams that they lead, and there is so much happens here, and there's a lot to navigate. Throw in a bit of COVID restrictions and all those other things that go with it, and it's been one cracker. But really looking forward to what God's going to do in the year ahead. I'm going to share just a few thoughts first, and in a kind of devotional sense, and then we're going to jump into some really practical things which I'm super excited to be able to announce. Today we will be announcing some nominations for executive roles and also lead pastor roles as well, if you didn't catch my teasers on the socials and the like this week. I had the privilege of going to Mossman Gorge maybe a month ago. It's the first time I've been up to that part of the country and had a holiday with Ruth. And I don't know who's been to Mossman Gorge, any people? Yep, it's a little bushwalk if you haven't been there, it's tiny. And then you come to this gorge in the middle of these trees, and there's this flowing river which opens up to these big pools, which you can see a glimpse of it there. And it's kind of cold. The water is freezing cold. So you're in this sort of really humid climate, and then you jump in this water. People, you go swimming in there, it's beautiful, it's crystal clear. There's some, you can see, imagine if it was raining quite hard, it could flow potentially quite strong. But we were swimming in this gorge, and there's people all around the place, and I jumped out of the water, and Ruth was still in there. I was going to show you a photo, but she probably wouldn't appreciate me showing you and the swimmers up in Mossman Gorge. We were swimming, and I was just standing on the bank there, ready to get back and head back to the car. And then all of a sudden, in this moment, there was another little girl that was swimming as well, and she started getting swept down between the rocks there. And I didn't see what was, I just didn't even catch my eye. But Ruth, who was in the water, saw what was happening and quickly, put on a superhero cape and went to rescue this little girl. And Ruth found herself trying to pin herself between those two rocks there so she didn't get swept down as well, but managed to grab the little girl, pull her around the rock, and the little girl went to safety, and Ruth recovered for the next half an hour. Yeah, you can give her a round of applause. Why do I tell you that story? Because it showed me something pretty powerful. That you can have two people in exactly the same place that can have very different experiences of where they are. And I want to talk about a short scripture that jumped out at me a few months ago, and it's one that I just haven't been able to shake, and it's spoken deeply to the things that I'm walking personally, but I believe for us corporately as well. To give you a bit of context, it's where Jesus and his disciples are heading up to Jerusalem, where Jesus was about to fulfill all that he'd been brought to earth for to redeem humanity. It's the promise of Jerusalem where they were heading. And it's found in Mark chapter 10, verse 32. And it's just the first part of it. It says this: They were now on their way up to Jerusalem, and Jesus was walking ahead of them. The disciples were filled with awe, and the people following behind were overwhelmed with fear. Let me just read that last part. The disciples were filled with awe, and the people following behind were overwhelmed with fear. What happened that two people in relatively the same space could have such a different experience and feeling and sensation of that situation they found themselves in? The disciples found themselves in awe, yet those following close behind were overwhelmed with fear. And it got me wondering a little bit about this. Why? Why would there be such opposite kind of emotions and feelings at the time? And I don't want to talk too much around the overwhelm with fear. I want to dive into the awe aspect of it. But fear is one of those things that cripples so many of us. I actually got an email from someone last night, and they were talking about a particular book. And this book found through the studies and research that the number one fear most people have is that they miss out on living a meaningful life. You see, fear, it steals. It steals our peace. It steals our faith. It steals our courage. And it even steals our purpose if we succumb to fear. So here you have Jesus walking up to Jerusalem. The disciples are with him. The crowds are following. The disciples are in awe of Jesus and all he's about to walk into. Yet these people who followed behind were overwhelmed with fear. And they missed out on the opportunity to walk in the fullness of the purpose and the awe that the disciples found themselves in. So why were the disciples filled with awe? And what is awe? Awe, just one definition of it, is wonder that is inspired by authority or by the sacred or the sublime. So what caused the disciples to be filled with awe, to be filled with wonder as they followed Jesus? And there's two things that I probably just grabbed hold of and thought through in this process. One, that the disciples were called by Jesus. They were called. In the very first chapter of Mark, where this scripture comes from, one of the very first things Jesus does is he goes and calls a couple of fishermen to be his disciples. Simon, Andrew, James, and John. They were going about doing their business, mending their nets, doing their fishing, and Jesus came and called them and said, "Follow me." The disciples were called. You see, calling is much more than just a job or a career. And again, this email I got last night, which is very timely, said this: a calling embraces all of life. It's like an umbrella covering the whole of life and under which your job or career fits. Your calling is not just what you do, it's this whole of life thing that we get to be a part of, that Jesus invites us into it. When Jesus calls us, it changes our lives. If we're to grasp the fullness that we're called by Jesus, Messiah himself, it'll change our lives. It'll change how we view our lives. We will end up walking in awe and wonder of who he is. The second thing is that the disciples walked closely with Jesus. The difference between them and the crowd is they were right in the closeness of Jesus himself. And not even just in that moment, they had walked 3 years with Jesus. They knew Jesus. So what I did is I had a look back in Mark, and if we can drop that slide up with that chapter in Mark with all the chapters there, and I just started sort of bullet pointing all the different headings that you find in your Bible through those first chapters of Mark. And you don't necessarily need to read all of those, but the bottom line is those first 10 chapters of Mark, it's all about Jesus. It's all about Jesus healing and transforming and restoring and teaching and setting the captives free, transforming people's lives. That's all the disciples knew. That's all the disciples knew. There is little wonder that they walked in awe because they knew Jesus, the transformer, the healer, the deliverer. We know that same Jesus. Does it change the way that we live our lives? You see, the disciples, they knew Jesus. They knew who he was. They knew his character. They knew he could be trusted. Jesus had told them what was about to happen. Jesus told them that he was about to die. But did they fully appreciate it and fully understand it and grasp it? But regardless, as they were heading up to Jerusalem, they were filled with awe. You see, fear robs us of so much. But when we live in awe, it opens incredible doors of opportunity to see Jesus come and change our lives, but more importantly, change the lives around us and the communities that we serve. Even this year, I've had the incredible opportunity to do things that I wouldn't normally do in the capacity of leading here. And I tell you, I wouldn't be able to do it if it wasn't for Jesus. The night before we went on this holiday, we got a call from someone who'd been ringing around every church on the Sunshine Coast because their mother was about to pass. They called all the churches and no one was able to respond, and the call came through to us at about 6 o'clock at night. I'm packing my bags, ready to go for the next morning. The real pastor, Ryan, wasn't available. He was celebrating a birthday dinner, I think, from memory. And I didn't want to dump it on anyone else, but let's be honest, I'd never done an end-of-life visit. I haven't even seen a dead body before then. It was pretty, I was packing it. And I drove and I rang a mate and said, hey, what do I do with an end-of-life visit? But it's when Jesus lives within us, when we're in awe of him, we can do things that are actually well beyond what we think we can handle. Well beyond what we can do. And I believe for us as a church, if we walk in awe of who Jesus is, if we walk closely with him, if we know we are called by him, we can do incredible things for him and with him in the days to come. It ended up being a beautiful moment. There's a privilege when you get to sit with someone in that veil between earth and eternity. It was daunting, but I got to sit with this elderly lady's son, the only family she had, and he was there with his dog, and it was just this beautiful space where Jesus was very much there. When we walk in awe, it opens up these incredible opportunities for Jesus to do some pretty amazing things. The disciples were called. They walked closely with Jesus. That's the call for us. That's the call for each of us. Because when we do that, we can go on and continue to do all that he has called us to. We started 12 months ago talking around this idea of pioneering again. It's been a year of transition, no question about it, and there's probably more transition to come. But if we walk closely with Jesus and know that we're called, we'll absolutely be able to walk forward in awe and not fear, and walk forward in the fullness of all that he's called us to. Now, I want to finish with this scripture. It's found in 2 Peter 2, verse 3. It says, may God give us more and more grace and peace as we grow in your knowledge of God and Jesus our Lord. By his divine power, God has given us everything we need for living a godly life. We have received all of this by coming to know him, the one who called us to himself by means of his marvellous and glory and excellence. We're called. He's called each and every one of us to fulfill the calling that he's placed on us and to see this, our expression of his kingdom here on this earth. I'm going to share a couple of thoughts, and then we're going to get into, again, just a couple of practical things. But if we look at the year that's been, as I said, it's been a year of transition. We've spent the year looking at our core tenets, the core tenets of what we believe God has called us to, why this place here, Goodlife, exists. We've been working through these in our Sunday gatherings over the course of the year. In terms of the practicalities, this year has been very much around focusing on the structure and the team that we have and what's the best way to facilitate all that God has for us in the year ahead. And that's kind of what leads us to where we are now, where I want to talk about some new appointments, talk about some other changes when it comes to executive and lead pastor roles. But the first one I want to just bring to your attention, and it's a position which I'm super excited about. We talk around our core tenets and the one there being family. I believe without a shadow of a doubt that Goodlife is called to be a light to family in this community. From the very youngest to the very oldest, but also us collectively as the family of God. And we have a new role which we're going to bring on into the Goodlife community, and that's the families director role. We haven't had a role like this before. And the role of families director is going to be linking all the different, age groups together. So currently we have Helen, who heads up our kids and families. We have Jono, who looks after our youth. As you know, if you weren't here the other week, Jono's moving away, heading up to Rockhampton. So there's a bit of a gap there we have to fill. And also we've got our young adult crew. So this families director role will really look after the education years and oversee that, right from prep all the way through to those university years. So I'm really excited today to let you know that we've appointed as families director this new role, Greg Forrest. Yeah. Where is Greg? Why don't you stand up? Thanks, mate. Greg is not, he's a very familiar face to a whole lot of us here. And Greg and his wife Sarah have been a part of Goodlife for about 14 years. Sarah actually served in that as kids pastor here for about 4.5 years, I think, from memory, a little while back. Greg is a teacher, he's studying psychology, and he's just going to bring a wealth of experience and expertise as we start to dream and imagine what it looks like to be really intentional around creating pathways for our kids, and at every stage for that matter, right up to that sort of university age. So Greg will work with Helen, Jono for about a week, and then so we just said, hey, look, man, you just get your own team, you're all right, you'll just sort it out. But super excited about that role. If we believe these core tenets are important to us, then we need to invest in them, right? We need to make sure we've got the right people and right teams in place to be able to facilitate them the most. And so, Greg, thank you so much. I'm super excited, mate, to have you on team, and we look forward to the year ahead and for both of you to be a part of that in the days to come. So that's the first one. Then we want to also talk about some executive team nominations. And now, so for those who don't know, the executive, it's like the board of Goodlife. They're voluntary positions. Currently, myself and Ruth sit on that. Andrew and Jenny Timmer, Mike, Vivian, Jeffs, and Jeff and Mac Bentley are part of that. Makes up the executive. Probably about a year ago, we really just started to sense that we wanted to be praying about what does the executive look like moving forward. What are the right people to take us into this new thing that God is doing in our midst? So we've been praying about that one. I'm going to invite Jeff up. Where is he? Jeff Bentley. He's going to talk a little bit into that around some of the changes that are taking place.
I've asked Mac to be here because she's actually the brains behind the whole thing. We have an amazing community. Those of you who may be new to it might not know the full depth of it. But the breadth of people who have journeyed amazing journeys in ministry, people who have been pastors of big churches, right through to people who have spent their lives on the mission field. We're all gathered in amongst this group of people here. Not only that is there's people who are involved in mission right across the board that isn't even a Goodlife mission who are in our community. And then there are people in their day-to-day work who are ministering in every aspect of their job. The depth and quality of people we have a privilege to walk amongst here is amazing. I think God has made us his favourite. But I'm just saying that. So it's always a privilege when God calls somebody to be in leadership of a group like this. It's daunting. It's not something that you can take lightly. The thing about godly leadership is this. It's not an achievement. It's not like a badge that you can wear because I've been good enough to become a leader of a group like this. It's actually got to be a call. God positions people who are humble. And what happens with that is they're usually the people who don't think they're good enough for the role. But the beauty of when God positions somebody, he empowers and he enables. And so we can look around and we can sometimes measure ourselves against others. Don't do it. When God positions you, step up, step into it, knowing that he will empower and enable you in that role. So it's really exciting when we start looking at what God is going to do and when he starts positioning people, not just in leadership roles, but in anything that you're called to do. About the beginning of this year, we were looking for a lead pastor and we were interviewing people and stuff. And there was this one pastor in particular we were talking to. And he looked us all in the eye and he challenged us and said, would you be willing to actually make way for new leaders? Would you be even willing to step aside to let leaders raise up? And when you do that, it doesn't mean you're stepping down. What it means is you're taking on a position of championing others. What it does is getting behind them and bringing a new generation through. It's like the old couch. Sometimes that old couch will stay there until you take it to the tip. And then you get the new couch in. And there's only room when it goes to the thing. I've got a chair like that. We've got a lounge suite like that, actually. We've got a couple, haven't we? Yeah, thanks. Stephen just said get back to the point. I'm only on point 2. No, not really. But again, what it is leadership is not something to even hold on to. It's something to hold lightly. And as I was challenged by that over this last little while, God really laid it on me. Am I willing to step aside? So Mac and I have going to step aside, but with joy, because we're knowing what God's going to do. Even in that step of obedience in doing that, I believe God is already enhancing what's going to be. So from this point on, it's not a thing where I go, oh, that's the end of an era. No, the best is always yet to come. So be encouraged. God's best is yet to come.
How Mac, just stay here, you guys. Yeah. As someone who has walked very closely with both Jeff and Mac, and Jeff and I have worked together now for, 20 plus years in different capacities. When we started talking about this, we talked about it and having some conversation. We went up to Vandy's and had a coffee and just talking it through. And he got to that point where he just said, "Yep, I think it's right." And I just started crying because I was sad, I guess. But there is a depth to this guy that so many people don't see. the way he, particularly in the context of here and everything that I've been involved with Jeff and practically, he goes above and beyond and extends himself, often at his own detriment. But what I love more and more about him is his willingness to hear the voice of God and be open to that and obey that and say, yep, God, you are speaking to us. We need to take that step. So Jeff and Mac, on behalf of the exec, on behalf of all these guys, I just say thank you. Thank you for the many, many years of faithfulness in the way you've served. It's much greatly appreciated. We have just a small gift and appreciation just to say thank you to you guys. It goes nowhere near enough, but we thank you. Give these guys a hand. God bless. Thank you. I know probably from here on I'm going to be reading a lot because I don't want to miss stuff. That's probably just the reality of it. They're all significant things that we're talking about. So that then leads us to probably the things that we've been sensing around some new appointments when it comes to the executive team and the leaders of Goodlife in that capacity. I think, so what is an exec? Really, executive member is Tim used to coin it as the keepers of the vision. The ultimate accountability, the support, the foundation of the Goodlife team and all those who call Goodlife. That is what the executive team does and functions as. We've always seen it as a husband and wife, but there is also always one person of that couple that is the active operational member who attends the meeting and is a part of it. You can't separate that out and just say it's one party. As husbands and wives, we all carry the load and the responsibility in that, but there is one member of that couple who is active in capacity on that. The desire of it, of all of us as exec members is that we live lives beyond reproach, that we walk with integrity, that we're passionate about Goodlife, God's kingdom, His church, and the people that we're called to serve. And as an executive now, we've been praying and just seeking God over the last 12 months around who those people are. And so today we're going to be putting forward 3 nominations. And they're 3 nominations not for you to choose from. We believe all 3 of them would hold a significant and important role in the executive team. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to introduce you to each one of those couples, and then I'll talk about what happens after that. There's probably 2 things that we really felt as we were praying through what the exec team might look like. One, as Jeff touched on, was that we believe it's time for the new generation of leadership to come through, a younger generation. I'm the oldest and I'm pushing 50, right? Not exactly young. Sorry, I'm the youngest. Thank you for the correction. I am still young. There we go. It's all relative, right? So I am, yes, the youngest. And but we do feel that it's important to bring in that next generation of leaders and nourish them and grow them for the future of Goodlife in that. And we also felt that it was important to have an actual operational female voice into the mix as well in that. Thank you. So let me cut to the chase. There are three couples that we're putting forward, and obviously 3 of those will be operational in that. And the first person, the first couple that I want to introduce you to as a nomination for the executive role, because these are voted positions, and I will talk on that shortly and how we're going to do that, is Hannah and Amos Bartle. So why don't you stand up? Amos is probably on a camera, is he? Yeah, okay. Amos is running a camera, but Hannah is a familiar face to all of us as she leads here in worship. I'm just going to give you a bit of a who's who of each of these people. Hannah, Amos, and Amos have been married for 13 years. They have 2 girls, Harlow, who's 7, and Billy Rose, who's 4. They've been part of Goodlife since 2008. Hannah, as I said, has served in creative. Amos is in the production team as well, and they've both served in kids and youth over the years. Hannah's a high school teacher at NCC. And Amos has his own electrical contracting business. Actually, one interesting fact, which I didn't know, and thank you, Hannah, for this one, is that Amos was in a punk band. Yep. And anyway, the thing that, punk band sounds cool, but when you know the name of that punk band, Wisdom, spelled W-I-Z-D-U-M-B, that's awesome, mate. Well done. And also Hannah's studying a Master's in Divinity and has an absolute desire to teach the Word of God in what you do. We believe Hannah and Amos will be an incredible asset to us as a leadership team in the executive role. The second couple that we are putting forward to join the executive team, and if you guys want to just come and stand up here as well, is Sarah and Luke Quinn. You can come stand up here for a bit just so people can see who you are, just in case they don't know you. Sarah and Luke, they've been married for 12 years, have 3 kids, Hosea, Pearl and Ari. They've been part of Goodlife since 2011. Sarah is formerly a high school teacher, and you may know Sarah from one of our video pieces we did as she started a jewellery business, Bluebird Co. And she does that now, and Luke is a nurse. And it's been, I've had the privilege over these last 12 months of, I don't know how many meetings I've had a lot of meetings and lots of conversation with these guys, getting to know them and other people as well. And just the calibre of these guys is second to none, and I just believe will be a real asset to the Goodlife team. So Sarah and Luke are the other couple that we're putting forward to fill exec roles. And the third couple is Brett and Clarissa Letcher. Where are those guys? Yeah. These guys. So Brett and Clarissa, they actually first met here at Goodlife in 2015. Yeah, they were married by Ryan in 2019. Actually expecting their first child next year, which is pretty exciting as well. That is public, isn't it? Yeah, cool. So just don't worry about online web or anything like that. You know. Problem with streaming, right? You got to be careful with what you say. They've been part of Goodlife for 6 years. Brett is the business manager for an organisation called Metamorphic. Metamorphic is this incredible organisation which is passionate about church planting. Is it 1 million churches, mate? Is that the vision? They've got a vision to plant 1 million churches across the globe and raise up leaders to be able to do that. So Brett's the business manager of that, and Clarissa is a registered nurse at my doctor's surgery as well. So these guys, I'm really excited for Brett and Clarissa, and particularly for Brett's role, just with that passion to see churches planted. I think it ties so nicely into what we're doing. So guys, these are the couples that we're putting forward as the next executive leadership team. So to be clear, you're not choosing one or the other, and we believe all 3 of them will contribute to that, and we build a solid team for the next chapter of what Goodlife is about. So I'll talk to a little bit more to that shortly and around how that will work. So please give these guys a hand. Thank you so much. All right, I just want to talk about leadership structure just for a little bit, and then we'll get on to the lead pastor side of things. This year, I've spent a lot of time having conversation with different people, key leaders, people who are serving in church capacity at the moment, reading a lot of articles by guys that specialise in this kind of thing, and us as an exec then working through what does it look like for the structure that we believe is going to facilitate the things for the future for Goodlife in the most best way. And some of you are here in this church, and I just thank you for the time you've taken to invest in me by sharing your thoughts and taking time. And Rob, I just do want to just acknowledge you, mate. Just thank you so much for your time and energy and you put into that. It's really key as part of this process. We believe that moving forward, we want to be really intentional around creating a team of teams. A whole bunch of small teams that work together, of which we will be a part of. There's a very first, if you can just go to that first slide for me, Jode, that one there. We're going to take a slightly different approach to the senior leadership kind of structure, in that we believe that a team-led structure is going to be the best to facilitate the days to come. And so the role there on your left, that lead pastor role, is a familiar role to most of us in this context. But there is also a new role, which would be an executive lead. As you know, I've been serving capacity leader here for the last 12 months. And this new role is a role that I will take on as an executive lead, and come alongside the lead pastor. So both myself and the lead pastor will team lead Goodlife and all its operation moving forward. And in addition to that, And this, I think, if you can just go to the next one, really speaks to how that team structure will work. The existing leadership team of Jeff and Ryan and Kylie also fit into that. So together, we form this team that is going to be responsible and accountable for pursuing the vision and the calling of Goodlife, both operationally and for us as a faith community as well. It brings in the different elements that I believe and that we, as an executive believe, as I've already said, to facilitate the days to come and the new thing that we believe God has called us to. So in many ways, Goodlife has kind of operated like that already, but it's just just felt it was really important to kind of put it down on paper, to really start to articulate it clearly. What does that leadership structure look like? And obviously there are a couple of new roles in that. There's one thing I probably just do want to clarify, and it's a little bit awkward. No one likes talking about money. But in my capacity as senior lead here, I haven't been drawing a wage on that. And I don't say that for any other reason, just so that you know. I do think it's important that you do know that. I've been doing this in a voluntary capacity, and that I'm totally cool with that, and will continue to facilitate that other role because I still do have my business that I run, and so my involvement in that leadership team will still be in a part-time capacity. I'll continue to run the business that I have, and that will continue to be done on a voluntary capacity. Kind of one of those things I just assume everyone knew, but if we've never said it, you don't know, and people make that. So, thank you. And probably just the next extension of that is the teams. And many of them are the heads of department that you saw. So again, each one of those heads of department has their own team. And each of them is their team leader or the head of that department. And so this is when I talk around this idea of team of teams. It's very much these small teams that are functioning in their own right, being led by team leaders, that together we move forward in the purpose and calling that God has for us. And then just the last slide is where the executive fits in that. And really, executive is the foundation of that. And that's probably something we've just flipped a little bit. Probably traditionally, if we had done up a diagram like this, probably the executive would have been at the top, and then it filters down in more a hierarchical kind of structure. But here we felt it's a significant shift that the exec is the foundation. And on that, everything is built. The role of the exec is to champion, to equip, and to empower each one of those teams and to facilitate things moving forward. And so just, some of you maybe not into diagrams. I kind of like them. They just help me visualize stuff. But that's kind of the direction we're moving when we talk around leadership things moving forward. Okay, so the lead pastor nomination. I was actually thinking of running a book on this. Probably not allowed to say that, am I, in church? But, maybe a tipping comp, right? Because everyone kind of asked me these questions, just kind of subtly on, and then, are you saying that? No, I'm not saying that. But anyway, bottom line is that we, as an executive, as I said, it's been a 12-month journey. We felt right from the very outset that this isn't something that we wanted to rush, that we wanted to just take our time. Tim had done an amazing, amazing job for over 15 years, and to just come around and just drop somebody else in and fill a role was not what we're about. We wanted to know that God had the right person, and that person, as Jeff said, was called. That person, that couple were called to what God was doing here at Goodlife. And the beautiful thing for me, as I look back on it, I can see that God was at work 12 months ago planning to this day right here. We have, as an executive team, incredible peace that God has brought us to this point. And we're putting forward the nomination of that. So without any further ado, I'd just like to put forward the nomination of this lead pastor roles as Mike and Teresa Hardy. So why don't you guys come up and stand with us? This is a big day for our church, for our community. And again, this is a position that will need your endorsement, and I'll talk to how we're going to do that a little bit later. Just a couple of facts about these guys. Some of you may not know them very well. You would have seen their face. They moved here in January 2020, just before lockdown. They ended up coming to Goodlife because someone from their previous church in Sydney recommended they come to this place called Goodlife up here. Mike and Teresa have been married for 14 years, have 2 children, Soraya and Jacob. They moved to the sunny coast, as I said, in 2020. Teresa is a social worker and bereavement counsellor for over 20 years and is absolutely passionate around supporting people through grief. Mike, he runs a leadership development consulting business for the last 4 years. Before that was a pastor for over 24 years, both youth, executive and senior levels. And they planted their own church in 2007 in the Sutherland Shire, which is the Churches of Christ Church down there. Mike has taught leadership, ministry, theology subjects at Bible college and conferences, and he has a degree from Tabor College. These guys are passionate about the local church. They're passionate about Jesus and seeing his kingdom advance. It's been an absolute privilege of mine to spend a bit of time with Mike, probably more so, but both of them collectively as well, and start to hear their heart. And I probably want Mike to share a little bit about that because I think it's better coming from him and the journey that we've been on. Thank you, mate.
Well, over the years, I've done a fair bit of speaking, but I've got to tell you, I was pretty calm until a few minutes ago, and now my heart is racing. I think because of the enormity and the incredible privilege of what this role is about. And I've been in Tim and Donna's position before, and I just want to acknowledge them today. I think they're sitting down the back. It's a pretty humbling thing to be in a position like we are today before this community when there's been incredible leaders that have faithfully served with incredible humility, with passion, with integrity. And it feels a little overwhelming to be put forward this morning into this position. And we've, apart from my current nerves right at this moment, we've felt incredibly peaceful and calm and with a real joy in our hearts, but also equally just overwhelmed and humbled that it's actually got to this position. When we first, Stephen mentioned that at the last church we were at, someone came up after they prayed for us in a service and said, "Oh, you're moving to the Sunshine Coast. Are you going to? What church are you going to go to?" And we said, "Oh, we don't know. We don't know the churches up there." And they said, "Oh, you got to go to Goodlife." And the guy says, "It's your kind of church." And I was like, "Okay, Goodlife." I was like, I feel like I maybe have heard of it, but I didn't know anything about it. And when we came up here, we were looking at a few churches, and we came along here. But we just felt this pull back here. And when we first walked into the centre and we didn't really know anyone, we were just like overwhelmed. We went, whoa. And what was amazing about that was because we dreamed of something like this back in Sydney. We used to talk to our church community back there all the time about, the phrase we would use was a hub of the community. And we walked in and they went, these guys that have gone before us have created this hub of the community. It's extraordinary. And so we came along and our commitment was, well, we don't know many people, so let's just get involved and start serving. And then COVID hit. And so we spent all that time, in online, and we didn't really know many people. And then when we came back to services, I started going to the gym here. And we ended up getting involved in the welcome team. And one particular day I was in here and I went to the gym, and then I went out for my reward for going to the gym, because that's what I need, and I was quite proud of myself. Anyway, went and sat down. I don't go regularly, by the way. I don't want to overly impress anyone, but I sometimes come. And so I was sitting out by the pool, and I was sending some emails to clients, and all of a sudden I was just looking out at the pool and all the activity around it, and I went, what would I do if I was a pastor? Again, because it had been a number of years. And so I pulled out my notebook and I literally wrote down 2 pages, and I found it the other day. I was telling Stephen. And then I finished just scribbling down all these things that were in my head and heart. And then I went, and this was the middle of November last year. And I went, God, I don't really know what to do with that. I don't really know where that fits. I don't know what you have for us. Will I get to do this again? I'm running this company. I don't really know how it all fits. Anyway, I closed it and I just went, I don't know. And I went home and I was telling Teresa about it. I said, it's really funny, what kind of just flowed out of me today at lunchtime. And then about a week and a half later, I didn't know this until I went back and looked in the notebook. about a week and a half later, was this service last year. And we're sitting 2 rows from the back, and we've got our kids next to us, and we're trying to be good Christian parents and keep our kids quiet, at least our youngest one. And we're like, shh, just don't embarrass us, be good. And we're sitting there, and all of a sudden, Tim starts speaking and then announces his resignation. And I almost fell off my chair. And I looked at Teresa, and we both looked at each other and went, sort of thought in our heads, because we know each other's brains, that's weird. And but then Teresa said something really interesting to me, which was, she whispered in my ear and she said, I'm open if God is in this. Which she hadn't been for a little while, because she was enjoying the break after many years doing what we did in ministry. And so I was like, oh, wow. And then we didn't really know what to do. We didn't say anything. And then maybe a few days later or a week later, Teresa had woken up in the middle of the night and felt prompted. She had this phrase that just dropped in her heart, and she shared it with me the next morning. And she said, I just feel like the phrase that came in my head and heart from the Lord was, shuffle, don't stride. And being my type personality, I thought, I hate those words. I thought, what sort of word from the Lord is that? So, but then within a split second, I realized it was a word of wisdom, in particular for me, but for both of us. Because my natural tendency is to want to go, right, let's go have a conversation. Let's let people know. No one knows who we are. And I just felt like the word of wisdom was, just get involved, just serve, just become part of the community. And if this is meant to be, the doors will open. If it's not, it's okay too. Which was sort of tough to internally process. And then to go most of this year with that feeling. And then a little later on in this year, through a few different means, Stephen ended up meeting up with us, and we started a conversation. And to get to this point today, it's been one of those scenarios where we thought, wow, I never saw this coming, but we feel in quite this way. But when we look back, we can see the guiding hand of God. And this morning, as I ran out of the house, it reminded me of a plaque, because for the last 4 years for us, it's been this sort of like, I don't know, for 24 years as a pastor, it was always had a clear pathway and role in front. But the last 4 years, it's been, I don't really know what all this means and what's ahead. I can't see it. And it reminded me, my grandmother had this plaque. And when she passed away, my dad gave it to me because he knew I loved it. And I quoted it at my Bible college graduation. And it's a famous poem by M. Louise Haskins. And the King of England said it, the guy who stuttered, Queen Elizabeth's father. He read this as part of his famous speech as king, and this is what it says, and it just resonated, I feel like for us as a community, but for us in our own journey. I said to the man who stood at the gate of the year, give me a light, that I may tread safely into the unknown. And he replied, go out into the darkness, and put thine hand into the hand of God. That shall be to thee better than light and safer than a known way. And I just want to testify to this community that has been the goodness of God in our life as He's guided us each step of the way. And so we're incredibly grateful to stand before you this morning. And we just want to say thank you. And thank you, Stephen, for what you've done this year too.
Thanks, guys. Probably a couple of things that have really stood out to me on this journey, of particularly with Mike and Teresa. The conversation literally only started probably 6-8 weeks ago. And so for a good 12 months, 10 months or 11 months, whatever it is, they've just faithfully held those things that they felt God had planted on their heart and continue to just actively serve and leave it to God. To just shuffle and not stride and trust Him with it. Maybe I was just a bit slow to get on the whole same page. So, but nevertheless, God uses often, these delays and His timings for purposes we just can't see. But I believe fundamentally and with all my heart that we're in a place right now which God is orchestrating and bringing together, that He sees fit to join some dots, to connect people and hearts. Mike and I, just in the short time that we've been able to serve, and as I said earlier, Mike and I will be operating in that team lead role together. We have different giftings and skill sets. We're different people. but we have a like heart. We have the same kind of heart and we get along fantastic, and I'm really looking forward and excited to venture into that and see what God can use it. And together as we form that core leadership team, see Goodlife start to go on to fulfill those core tenets, but in ways that blow our mind. I believe this is a significant day for our Goodlife community. So how does the endorsement of nominations work? So this year we're going to be doing it a little bit differently because we obviously have our physical gathering. Normally we do a show of hands and all that, but we're going to do it a little bit differently today because we do have our online community that are joining too, is that there will be an opportunity for you to endorse these nominations on an online form. And so when at the end of the service, what we'll be doing is we'll put up a QR code up on the screen, and you can use your QR code, or you'll go out into the foyer. There's going to be posters around. You'll also be leaving with a book which has some codes and things like that. And I would invite you to participate in endorsing these nominations, or not endorsing these denominations, endorsing these nominations. And that's what this process is about. Traditionally, you might have been a Goodlife for a while and you said, we've never voted before. It's because we haven't had any change before. We've been like it for probably a good 15 or 10 years since we've done this. So who votes? Basically, we would say it's someone who's a contributing participant of Goodlife. If you're participating in the ongoing work of Goodlife and the vision of Goodlife, then we'd invite you to be part of this process and voting. And so you'll scan the QR code, it'll come up with each of the people, and you'll simply say yes, no, or you'll abstain from that if you want to. And then we'll tally. That'll run through. You don't have to do it right now or right this morning if you don't want. You can do it later in the day. That will be cut off at 6 p.m. tonight, and then we'll make an announcement tomorrow. You'll see there's the same QR code that you use to do the voting. If you use that QR code tomorrow, probably later in the day or in the evening, that'll take you to where we'll put an announcement. I'll do a video announcement of what the results were from those endorsements of those nominations. Now, I just want to pause there for a moment and it's always a bit hard in a big group like this, but if anyone has any questions or wanted to ask something that's not clear, or any comments around the process that we're in at the moment. So I do just want to extend that invitation. If someone wants to ask a question, we have a microphone, so I will get you to use that if you do. But just raise your hand and I'll come to you. Yeah, Jeremy.
Yeah, just with the voting, I just want to clarify for the executive. Does each person just vote for one person, or is the idea you endorse? I mean, you might want to endorse all of them because you like.
Yep. So to be clear, we're putting forward that there will be 3 new members to the executive. So we're not choosing from the 3. We are putting forward every person that you saw up the front. We want them to be active members on the executive or the lead pastor role. So you're endorsing each one of those. Does that make sense? Cool. Anyone else? Cool. Alrighty. Okay, so again, I'll just, to be clear, and I'll show you the QR codes shortly in that, but the executive members that we're putting forward, Hannah Bartle, Sarah Quinn, and Brett Letcher, and then in the lead pastor roles is Mike and Teresa Hardy on that. All right, these kind of things, the next ones just kind of feel a little insignificant compared to that, to be honest. Financial report. Who doesn't like a financial report? So as you leave today, I'll just get my papers all right here, you're going to be given what we're calling the People Matter book. It's a book which talks about the vision, the heart, the core tenets, what we're about at Goodlife. And within that, this little thing called a QR code is overtaking our lives, right? Who had never used a QR code before the last 18 months? Now, let me make a point on the QR code. You do not use the Queensland government app for these QR codes, all right? All right, I get it, because sometimes for a lot of us, the only time you've seen a QR code is when you had to use the Queensland government app, all right? All you do is you just use your camera on your phone. If you've got a really old phone, it may not work. So there's going to be a whole bunch of our team out there. If you get stuck, just grab one of them and they'll be able to help you. If you want to do the voting right away and you don't have a phone with you or something like that, just find one of the team and you can do that on their phone as well. In that process. So you walk out with this book. Yeah, in that also you'll have what is our financial report. Now, if we can just go up to the screen there, and I don't expect you for one moment to read the financial report on the screen there, but that's essentially what is in here. Let me just make a few comments in terms of the financial report. Bottom line, all glory to God. In terms of where we stand at the moment. That's just, the first and foremost thing that I just want to say in that regard. We sit in a very good position. Now, keep in mind, this is a financial report for last financial year finishing 30 June that has been and gone. So we're now kind of a fair way into the new financial year on that. Bottom line is, and you can read, for those that want the details, it's there. Bottom line is, we're in a solid profit position of about $300,000 last financial year, okay, which is awesome in the midst of everything that's gone on. Now, there is a but. And the big but is a thing called JobKeeper, all right? JobKeeper has been especially helpful for us as an organisation over that last 12-month period, all right? And so if we took JobKeeper out of the mix, we'd be in a very different scenario. We'd be well into a negative situation as a result of that, all right? One of the things we were able to do as a result of JobKeeper is that we didn't have to, when we went through all the lockdowns, we were able to pay our team the whole way through that. All right, we didn't have to put people off. We didn't have to cut hours. We were able to pay all of the Goodlife team, I should know the number of staff, 80, 90 staff, however many there are, were all able to be paid throughout all of the lockdowns there. All right. The current year is trending okay. But definitely that surplus will help us at the moment. I don't know if I'm in retail, that's what I do. It's up and down. Some days are good, some not so good, some months are good, some not so bad. Are bad, even coming in the centre, some days are still quiet. People, it's just going to be interesting. We're coming into another season, right, where borders start to open. You only have to watch the news last night to see there's some new strain or something like that. There's a whole lot of uncertainty, all right? So we're in a strong position, strong cash position to be able to weather whatever may come over this next period of time. All right, so that's kind of our financial position at the moment. Just in terms of our giving, I just want to say a big thank you to those who faithfully give with your tithes and offerings to here at Goodlife throughout this whole season. To those online as well who continue to give, it's just an amazing thing. Our offerings have declined. We're about 30% down, probably if you go back 18 months ago. And that's probably to be expected based on the number of people and the changes that we've had. So it's not unexpected. But it is, it's probably one of those things that we just need to watch and see, and we'll talk a little bit more on that as well as we talk around the Thanksgiving offering moving forward as well. Probably just one other element just in the financial report. As you would have seen and as we've talked, we feel mercy and justice is a really important part of, or one of our core tenets moving forward. So this year what we've done is we've also started what we call the Mercy and Justice Fund. And we've always given and we've always tithed as Goodlife out of the monies that we receive through here and obviously through any of the operations. But what we have done is really felt to set aside this fund, which is an extra sort of 5% on top of anything. So if there's ever a surplus or a profit on any given month, this will go into that Mercy and Justice Fund that enable us to respond immediately when there's needs or anything that may come up in the days ahead. So just wanted to update you on that one as well. All right, in terms of our Thanksgiving time and Thanksgiving offering, each year we have our Thanksgiving service. And normally we would have talked about this prior to now, but I guess intentionally and deliberately want to just wait and be able to talk to us about it now, right here. We started a practice many years ago where once a year we'd, go put forward an opportunity to contribute to a Thanksgiving offering, which is traditionally above and beyond our tithes and offerings. It was a way of us as a community of faith to thank God for what He has done, and again for what He is going to do into the future. And this year, we still want to invite you to participate in that. And you may be ready to go today, and if you are, great. But probably even what I'd encourage you to do is to go away after today and just think and consider and pray about what God would have you as a couple, as an individual, in terms of what you would feel to contribute towards our Thanksgiving offering. Our Thanksgiving offering this year is going to be kind of two-pronged. One, we talk around the changes and the roles and these new positions. if I look back over the years of Goodlife, every time there's been a new position, it's been a step of faith we've all had to take as a community, to believe that God will provide the funds and the resources to make that happen and continue to. These are big appointments in the sense that there's quite a few new roles there, all right, and that there's an expense to do that. But we 100% believe that they are right and that God will provide in that. And so we want to get you to think about this Thanksgiving offering as a way of investing into those roles for the year ahead, and to see them be able to be facilitated on the ground here. And the other area is one that we've been, probably more at executive level so far, just been having a bit of chat around this idea of families. We would love to do something more down on the pool area to facilitate families in this place. So, play equipment and things like that, to just build an amazing facility there where families can come and kids can play, and a whole bunch of play equipment down at the bottom area of the pool. There's an area down there which would facilitate that. And so we'd also like to see this Thanksgiving offering go towards that as well in the days ahead. So a couple of two-pronged things, really the team and development of the personnel and bringing that team together, and also this play equipment at some point. So that's what our Thanksgiving offering is going to go to this year. And again, I would ask you just to consider that if you're prepared. The offering box is up the back there. There should be some cards on your desk. Okay, kids at school. Annual Thanksgiving offering. There's a website link there. There's a QR code which you can use. You go on, if you have a look at our website, the guys have started to make some adjustments on that. There's a new giving page, so you can do online giving through that now. Credit card, direct debit, reoccurring giving. So that went live yesterday, and so that will facilitate that. There's an option to choose whether it's a Thanksgiving offering, general tithes and offering, and so you can choose that, and you can use that for your regular online, tithes and offerings as well. But that should be on your seats, I believe, to be able to have that for this Thanksgiving offering also. Well, so many bits of paper. All right, I think that's it for the Thanksgiving offering. I'll ask, there will be time for questions at the very end, and very aware we're running out of time fast. One, more a teaser, something I just want to talk about that's coming. We're building an app. All right, and this app is really centered around building community and connection for us here at Goodlife. And so in the next few weeks, we're currently in the final testing stages of it. We've had the privilege of coming alongside an organisation that is really passionate about fostering the local church and creating ways for the local church to build community and connection. And so this app will start to become the source of all the information you need to know, where, what's happening, what's going on, your giving, prayer requests, support needs, all those kinds of things. For the smaller groups we have, there's chat functionality. So if you're in a home group, you can use that to build your own group and have chat conversations amongst yourselves, all that kind of thing. So really exciting. We believe, I've seen it in my other role that I do. I believe technology is an incredible tool for enabling us to move forward in ways that we may not if we didn't have it. And so I believe this app is going to be a really important step moving forward. So that's coming, and we'll definitely talk more about that in the weeks to come. Alrighty, we're nearly there. And so, as I said, just at the end, as you walk out this morning, you'll receive the People Matter book. The financial report will be in there, as well as you've got your giving cards. And the QR codes will be around the place out in the foyer. And for the voting will also be on the screen there. I think I've covered everything. Does anyone want to give me a nod if I'm missing anything? Or I think we're pretty good. All good? Alrighty, cool. Did anyone have any questions? I know it's a bit daunting asking questions in a big group like this, but I don't want to just assume that you don't. Does anyone have any questions? Anything that needs clarification? Yep, maybe we'll just grab the mic there, Ryan, up in the middle.
Just a clarification, are the executive paid, the 3 people that we're voting for?
No, they're not paid.
Okay,
no,
just Greg and Mike.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yep. Anyone else? Not missing anyone? Alrighty. Cool. I want to, a lot of information, I get it. I would encourage you to be active in having your vote, I guess, and endorsement of these nominations that we have. As I said, I'll make that announcement tomorrow. So check out our socials and the like for the results of those. Before I finish, I do want to just read a scripture which I just felt was a way of just tying it all together, and then we're going to go into a time of worship just to finish up together. And it's a verse which is a pretty much a life verse, and I think I've talked about it a number of times from this platform. And it's Proverbs 3, 5 and 6, which simply says this: trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. Yeah, amen. I believe it's a scripture we can hold on to. It's a broader community, but for each of us as we venture into all that God has for us in the days to come. Guys, thank you so much for being part of the Goodlife family. It's been an incredible privilege to serve this last year, and I look forward to serving in this slightly tweaked capacity. And we'll keep you updated in the days to come of where things land. God bless.
glory for Sing to you be all honor, glory